Do you own a home or have plans to in the future? Don't miss the Dino and Nelson Show, Sunday afternoons at 1 p.m. on Money Radio, KTLK AM 1150. You'll get all the information you need to know about what's happening in the local real estate market and how to take advantage of that knowledge. How to approach home ownership or mortgage financing with design, vision, and focus, as well as accurate information. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing, listen to Real Estate Radio with Dino and Nelson Sunday afternoons at 1 p.m. right here on Money Radio, KTLK, AM 1150.
Hey guys, this is Dino from the Dino and Nelson Show, and this is my co-host.
Nelson, how are you today?
Welcome to this week's dynamic show. We're diving into the confusing world of loan modifications with Bill Baskin, Director of CDA Law Center.
And we're going to just dive deeper as well, looking at understanding if you're even eligible to begin with. I mean, the whole modification segment is looking at a bowl of spaghetti, trying to figure out which two ends come together. So we need to figure that out.
Well, and that's why Bill Baskin is the professional, because it's such a confusing topic. And I know clients ask me all the time, and I don't know. There's this algorithm that everybody has an idea of what it is, but nobody really knows. Bill Baskin does know, and that's why they do it for a living. So.
Resident expert. And then we also have a 35-year veteran to our industry. Phil Immel is coming in to talk to us about his real estate markets down at the Ritz Cove and up in Beverly Hills.
AKA...
the real estate guru.
The guru. He's going to share 3.5 decades, you said, right? So is he older than you or younger than you?
No, he started his career when I was born.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
So truly a guru. You remember the Depression? He'll tell you what was going on then.
Yeah, he's guru.
And I'm what?
Goo.
I'm goo?
Yeah, goo.
Doesn't that happen at your age more?
Yeah, exactly. When I start drooling on myself. Hey, let me share with you what we got off the net this week. This next segment is brought to you by First Centennial Mortgage, market-leading interest rates and guarantee. That's, the guaranteed rate, that's a critical piece. So many people are chasing interest rates, and they're not guaranteed. By the time they hit the finish line on their transactions, whether it's a purchase or a refinance, rates change. Now, in this marketplace, rate could have improved, but we've seen plenty of environments where rates have popped up, and then all of a sudden, the consumer's upset.
No, you're absolutely right. And if you want more information on refinancing or buying a home, just text the word refi to 313131. Text the word refi to 313131, and Nelson and I will take care of you.
So our state legislators have been busy. The Homeowner Bill of Rights went through the Senate, passed, went through Assembly, passed, came up to the governor's desk. He signed off on it. And so there's now this legislation. And again, Bill Baskin's going to dive a little bit deeper on this in terms of the foreclosure Bill of Rights that's extending more rights to homeowners and protecting them from lenders.
I don't think anybody needs protecting from you.
Yeah. No, they need a restraining order.
Let's just refrain from that for a little bit, because nobody will know this better than Bill.
Okay. And well, I just, I do want to comment, though, because
here we go.
I want to comment on that because I understand that there have been a lot of homeowners that are harmed, but I see some of this legislation that's positioning, at least how the media presents it, positioning that the homeowners are these innocent individuals with no ability to assess what they were getting themselves into, that they just were victimized. And hold on, they were signing up for the transactions. They were signing loan documents. Maybe not all of them read the loan documents.
Nobody reads them because they're 130 pages long.
And how many escrow officers say, listen, you have 30 minutes to sign and 30 years to read these? But it's a situation where I don't think everyone is naive and victimized by the lending community. And we do have to have consumer protection, sure, because there was a segment out there that truly was abusing homeowners and getting them into properties that they simply couldn't financially manage. But I don't know, I just had that reaction when I was looking at the headline of the Bill of Rights. We'll look at it deeper, though. And then out of the LA Times, there's, again, coming out of Washington, D.C., more legislation talking about consumer protection. They're revising our disclosure forms. And I think this may be good because the disclosure forms that we send out from the lending process, their intent is solid. They're trying to help the consumer understand what the cost of borrowing money is. Flat out confusing. I mean, how hard are they to read, and how hard are they for the consumer to actually absorb and understand what's going on?
You're really going to get me started on this
I'm
again?
going to get you going.
I absolutely hate our disclosure system. I hate everything the way they've organized it all. And the reason why is because you can't understand it. There's too many pages. There's too many words. It's just that if you want somebody to really understand it, cut it down to 3, 4, 5 pages max. Make them sit and read it, because somebody will read 4 or 5 pages. They're not going to read 70 pages of just disclosures and then another 130 of loan docs.
And they're not going to go through these algorithms like you were saying in terms of trying to understand APR and amount financed and interest, and it goes on and on. It is a confusing document. And I've had my customers that have gone through 4 or 5, in some cases 6 transactions. They're veterans to the real estate industry. They understand what it means to borrow money and pay it back, and they're still confused.
It's true. It's horrible. I'm very fortunate that so many of my clients are referral based, and they trust me, and because they just tell me, they're like, Dino, I don't know what I would do if I didn't trust you. I don't know. I go get a loan from somebody else, and this guy be signing my life away here.
No, I know it. I always marvel at that, on how you put yourself on title with all of your customers. That's a good safeguard. Well done.
Next.
All right.
Just in case you jumped into your car, you're listening to the Dino and Nelson Show here on K-Talk AM 1150. We can be reached at 888-814-3335. That's 888-814-3335, or at dinoandnelson.com.
There you go. Last week's show, I'm hoping our listeners were able to catch that. If not, that they can go onto our YouTube channel and pick up the Dino and Nelson Show with General Line. But he made a comment, and it has that vantage point of being a home builder across 5 separate decades. He's seen economic cycle. He's seen recoveries, false recoveries, double dips, and he made this comment about the sudden turnaround in our marketplace.
They're rushing back in building houses. They're rushing in buying them, and so it was good to see. And it happened in the last couple of months, and it was we can almost show you the day it started in different places and how they can be duplicated. The same thing happening, 1,000 miles away. It's a little hard to figure out how that happens in the growth and what the buyers are thinking about, but it's clearly changed dramatically.
And the numbers back it up. In the first quarter, Lion Homes had an 84% increase in sales activity year over year. Unbelievable. This market is coming alive.
Yeah, and he is a very significant man, so when he says something, I tend to believe it. The
Warren Buffett of Orange County.
Absolutely.
I buy into it. Washington Post was reporting, of course, the interest rates from this week. And again, we're hitting record lows. And I saw this. It's just staggering. 15-year fixed rates have been below 3% for a period of time. They've been down in the mid to high 2s. Now the national average on 30-year fixed rates, granted, it's with all of the right qualifications of
and fees and all
fees
that stuff,
and equity and paying points, but the national average with paying points and fees for 30-year fixed rates is at 2.89% across the country.
I got in an argument with my wife because I'm not spending as much time at home as I should be lately, and I told her, I'm like, honey, it is honestly the lowest rates we have ever seen. I know you hear that all the time,
right? But
it is truly the lowest rates ever. It is so busy right now. I mean,
how far can they go?
Everybody who refinanced 6 months ago is doing it again right now. It just doesn't matter. I mean, it's time to do it. It's time to secure something good. If you have any interest in getting a refi, text the word refi to 31 31 31. Hang tight. We'll be back in just a minute after commercials.
You want to invest in today's real estate market and take advantage of the low values, but the property needs work. What do? Polaris Equity Group provides an answer with its market-exclusive 100% rehab program. The Polaris loan covers the purchase price, down payment, rehab budget, 6 months of interest, and lender's costs, all in exchange for a profit split between you and us. Call Polaris Equity Group to hear more about it. 949-727-4333. That's 949-727-4333. Take advantage of their exclusive 100% rehab program. 949-727-4333. Or find us online at polarisequitygroup.com. We have reviewed your application for credit, and at this time, we are unable to approve you. The dreaded credit denial letter. You've had strong credit, but life got in the way and companies are turning you down. The Dino and Nelson Show has a solution with Saving My Credit. Saving My Credit offers highly skilled specialists and a research methodology that is consistently applied to improving your financial situation. Nagging collection accounts, late pays, tax liens, bankruptcies, charge-offs are some of the many examples of negative reporting that leads to credit denial. Saving My Credit applies rigorous energy, experience, and resourcefulness to raise your credit score. Your credit is approved. It would feel so much better, wouldn't it? Contact Saving My Credit at 714-699-4680 or savingmycredit.com. That's 714-699-4680, 714-699-4680, or online at savingmycredit.com.
This is Nelson from the Dino and Nelson Show, and finally, a reputable legal firm. CDA Law Center, a nationally recognized nonprofit homeowner advocate, one of the most trusted firms in the country for helping consumers with their loan modification process. CDA's attorneys have decades of combined experience guiding their clients through the very complex and choppy waters of loan modification. Call 877-499-4435. 877-499-4435. Finally, honest and ethical advice to gain real results. Call CDA Law Center at 877-499-4435 or online at cdalawcenter.com.
Welcome back to the Dino and Nelson Show. This next segment is brought to you by Saving My Credit. We're bringing back one of our special guests, Bill Baskin, Director of CDA Law Center. They're providing ethical and accurate counsel. For more information about loan mods, text the word MOD, M-O-D, to 313131. That's text the word MOD to 313131 or call the Dino and Nelson Show at 888-814-3335.
Bill, good to have you with us. You know, I think it's remarkable because there's a lot of people in the modification space. And when you have a consumer advocate group that's actually endorsing you as a trustworthy and reliable source, I think that says a lot, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it certainly does. And, it's born from a lot of hard work and doing what's right by our clients, always putting the client first. But, we certainly appreciate the accolades, but it's they've been hard won.
Yeah, exactly.
Bill, just a quick story. I had a client call in the other day from the show from a few weeks ago, and they were asking about the loan mods. And I was suggesting you. I said, great, ethical guys will tell you the truth. And they're like, I've already dealt with so many of them. And all they want is my money, and it's expensive. Mm-hmm. And I can't seem to get anything done. So, the one reason why we've picked Bill that we like, the guy, and we think he's accurate and honest is because he actually says no to people more than he says yes. He does not want to take your money if he doesn't think he can complete the deal.
Well, in understanding the eligibility model, which is as close as the modification process can get to genetic decoding, it's complex. It's hard to figure out, and so many groups that are out there promoting themselves as experts simply don't know. So, Bill, with that, there's since you were on the show last, there's a lot of new legislation, a lot of new activity in the modification space. What's going on?
Yeah, it's a very exciting time in the loan modification space right now. Obviously, a couple months ago, we had the national mortgage settlement with the 49 state attorneys generals and the banks, the 5 major banks, where they are required now. It's a $25 billion settlement. We're getting a lot of principal reductions now as a result of that banking settlement. But that settlement, pretty much proved that the banks had unsafe and unsound servicing practices. In other words, they were abusing many people in both the modification process and the foreclosure process, which is what led to the settlement.
25 billion, though. Okay, that sounds like it's a significant number, but spread across 49 states, will it actually get to the consumer and have some impact?
Oh, absolutely. Kamala Harris, our AG here in California, did a phenomenal job. 18 billion of that 25 is coming to California. Wow. And, it obviously gave her quite a bit of political clout in the state, and she used that clout to further enact protections for homeowners with the Homeowners Bill of Rights that Governor Brown signed into law yesterday. It's going to provide a lot of protections for homeowners going through the modification process, through the foreclosure process. It's going to prevent dual tracking. In other words, while you're applying for some sort of a workout solution, the bank can't simultaneously be pushing you into notice of default and foreclosure when you're trying to work something out. So,
and that's not an uncommon scenario. I mean, I've spoken with plenty of consumers that were working with the left hand of one organization and going through the modification, being notified that they're approved, and then the right side of the very same company executing foreclosure.
Oh yeah, no, and you know these banks have gotten so big, and they've rolled in so many companies. You know, they're on multiple computer systems, you know, divisions all across the country that don't talk to each other or don't even have the ability to talk to each other because they're on completely different computer systems. So on one hand, you may be dealing with a division that's giving you a loan mod. On the other hand, you're being processed for a foreclosure, and hopefully this homeowner bill of rights will prevent a lot of that dual tracking that's been going on, because we do see it on a daily basis from just about every servicer.
And what about the HAMP program? The HAMP stands for
Home Affordable Modification Program. It's commonly called the Obama Plan, or MHA, Making Homes Affordable. That program had a recent expansion. They launched HAMP 5.0 or HAMP 2. It's tremendously expanded the guidelines. I mean, if you were unable to get a modification before, you're considering one now. The guidelines from Treasury have loosened up considerably. Even people with equity now, we can prove that the modification makes more financial sense to the investor, which is net present value, one of the key drivers of achieving a loan modification. So it's really expanded the parameters. HAMP applies to investment properties now as well. Previously, it did not. So, you know, if you're underwater on your house, if the payment's a struggle for you, you know, if refinance is not really an option, you know, if you're a non-Fannie, non-Freddie loan, you know, there's a lot of tremendous programs out there available for you now.
You know, people don't realize too how much CDA law is investing back into the legislative process, and in working with the lobbyists and working to change these laws so that there's some accountability and some consumer protection. Bill, it's true. You have a lot of money going out for just that cause.
Oh, absolutely. No, we unfortunately I think the mantle has been placed upon us, but you know, we're championing for homeowners out there. You know, we, as you mentioned earlier in the segment, I mean, we're a very ethical firm. We fully vet every prospective client who's thinking about a modification. You know, we turn down literally 70% of the people that come to us because there's very distinct things I need to prove to your lender. And I can run a financial analysis and determine if you're a viable candidate or if you're not. You know, it's critical we highlight where the risks lie in this process. It is a negotiation with your lender. You're seeking a voluntary concession. That's a contractual amendment to change the repayment terms of your loan. So it's not something that, you know, you're not entitled to it. Just because we bailed out the banks, many consumers feel like, oh, I get my loan mod now. Well, we still have to prove, you know, some pretty major things to your bank to be able to achieve that. And we do a lot of vetting up front to make sure the client is viable. I mean, the last thing we want somebody to do is spend money on a loan modification when they're already struggling financially and it's not even a viable alternative. And unfortunately, there's still a lot of companies out there that will take anybody who can fog a mirror, whether they're qualified or not.
Sure. I thought most of those companies have been put out of business already. It's still there?
No, they're still there. It's really a buyer beware environment. You know, if you're dealing with a company that's telling you all good news and it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I know when we talk to a client, we take a full financial application, we break down the ratios for them. You know, we show them where the hardship lies relative to their mortgage payment, why they can afford a modified payment. You know, we talk about the net present value of their loan, and you know what makes them a viable candidate and what doesn't. And we also point out all the areas of risk, because just because the numbers work doesn't mean you're going to get a loan modification. You know, sometimes there's investor related issues or other issues that could come up that could preclude you from getting a mod. And if these aren't disclosed to you up front and you go into this with unrealistic expectations, you're probably never going to be satisfied with the process.
And you've pushed forward the accountability piece so that if somebody flat out isn't eligible, you can shake hands and part friends up front before you've gone through all this brain damage.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a 6-month process. You know, I mean, we're saving, you know, we had a $775,000 principal reduction for a client the other day, $500,000 one yesterday. I mean, we're saving people $500 to $2,000 a month on their mortgage payment. So you can get a really nice benefit out of these government programs if you're eligible, but you shouldn't be going for this if you're not eligible, and you really need to deal with somebody ethical. You know, whether it's us or anybody else, just make sure you're being, you know, fully vetted.
And you guys can do loan mods up and down California or everywhere?
Yeah, the entire state of California. We don't operate out of the state, just in California. Our attorneys are licensed here.
Guys, Dino and Nelson Show truly recommends CDA Law Center. If you guys are interested in getting a loan modification, just to talk to somebody, no obligation, text the word MOD, M-O-D, to 313131. That's text the word MOD to 313131, or you can call the Dino and Nelson Show at 888-814-3335. We're speaking with Director of CDA Law Center. This is Bill Baskin.
And so I wanted to shotgun a couple of questions at you, and we've talked about these when you were on the show a couple of months ago, but I think they're critical because there's still confusion out there. There's still a lot of noise and a lot of opinion in the modification platform. But I have this question, and this comes up, I'm certain, every conversation you enter into. Do I have to currently go delinquent on my payments to get a modification?
Well, to get one, yes. To apply for one, no. You can apply in what they call imminent default. The problem is when you're in imminent default, what the bank will do is send your file to the imminent default department where it will sit and languish until the imminent becomes an actual. You see, it's between the servicer and the investor that actually owns your loan, there's a contract called a pooling and servicing agreement. It's this agreement that allows the servicer to modify the loan, but only in the instance of a default. So what the investor basically tells the servicer is, listen, if you have a client that falls behind on the mortgage payment, you're authorized to do a workout as long as it's in the best financial interest of the investor. So in other words, what they do is they look at a foreclosure scenario versus a modification scenario, and if the investor makes more money by modifying the loan, reducing rate, reducing payment, as opposed to a foreclosure scenario, it makes more sense to modify, which is something unique in this marketplace because, with negative equity, that's why they're taking a big loss on the foreclosure side.
Now, I can't say I know very many, but I have heard of two people that have gotten a loan mod and were never late on their payments. Both happen to be with Wells Fargo, though. Mm-hmm. So it does happen. Oh,
yeah. No, I mean, there's always the exception that proves the rule. I mean, if it's a portfolio loan by the lender where, Wells Fargo is not only the servicer, but let's say they're also the investor of that loan, they're a little more liberal when they're modifying their own portfolio.
Well, they can play by their own rules.
And you know what? So good point. This was an interest-only loan that the guy originally had gotten. Mm-hmm. So that it was a portfolio loan then. So that makes sense.
So with that, is it hard to prove? Is it difficult to prove hardship? And I asked that question, and let me frame that out for you, because with hardships, we're seeing that people can re-enter the market on the finance side after a shorter period of time. Instead of being locked out for new financing for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, they can re-enter with 2. But reduction or loss of income isn't being categorized as a hardship on the finance side. What are your thoughts?
Well, it's definitely a hardship on the loan modification side. I mean, really what we look at is what is your total housing obligation relative to your gross income? We apply traditional underwriting standards to the particular scenario that you're in. And, for example, traditional mortgage guidelines go to 38% of your gross income can be applied to your housing cost. Well, if you're at a 20% ratio, 20% of your gross income going to your housing, and you're saying, I can't afford my mortgage, I'm going to tell you you're living outside your means in areas that have nothing to do with your house. But if half your income is going to your housing obligation, there's clearly a hardship related to the mortgage payment itself, and that's where we start. Now we still have to prove, does it fall within the HAMP waterfall, in terms of reducing rate or payment? And do you make enough money to satisfy a modified payment? Because the bank's not going to modify you if you're still in the middle of your hardship and can't afford any level of payment.
So let me throw this quick question. We're going to go to break here in just a few seconds, but I wanted to ask you, so many people think they can navigate this territory by themselves. They can modify their own loan. Is that reality?
Well, I would certainly tell you if you're astute, you can. There's a story. One of the a state attorney for a West Coast state spent 6 months researching how to do a mod on her own, and she's an attorney, a state attorney. Tried it on her own, failed miserably, and then hired us to do it. And we were able to get it done. So I would say no. This is a labyrinth of technical terms and ratios, and the average consumer is just really not equipped to do this.
Hey, Bill, I got a question. As soon as we get back from break, I want to ask you regarding a question that one of my clients asked me just yesterday. And I think everybody's going to want to hear it. Hang on tight. We're going to be right back. It's the Dino and Nelson Show here on K-Talk AM 1150. We can be reached at 888-814-3335. We'll be right back.
In a chaotic real estate market, you want peace of mind when it comes to the home you're purchasing. Roadrunner Exterminating, a family-owned and operated company providing structural repairs, local treatments, and fumigation. Roadrunner Exterminating is a licensed, bonded, and insured expert in termite, pest control, and general contracting. For fast and efficient service, plus the peace of mind of knowing the condition of your new home, call Roadrunner Exterminating at 866-398-BUGS. That's 866-398-BUGS. Or on the web at roadrunnerexterminating.com. As always, mention the Dino and Nelson Show and get a free home inspection. 866-398-BUGS or roadrunnerexterminating.com. General Contractor License 922404. Nominal fee for escrow inspections.
This is Nelson from the Dino and Nelson Show, and I want to tell you about one of our show partners, Efficient Services Escrow. As the name implies, Efficient Services Escrow provides lenders, realtors, home buyers, and sellers with fast, efficient, but most importantly, worry-free specialty escrow services. Dino and I know firsthand that real estate transactions can be complex and layered with areas of exposure for details to be handled incorrectly. The number one reason we work with Efficient Services Escrow is their seasoned veterans are reliable, proactive, and best of all, provide us worry-free escrow services. With any real estate sale, purchase, or refinance, call our trusted friends at Efficient Services Escrow, 949-208-9600. That's 949-208-9600, and let them know that Dino and Nelson sent you. Efficient Services Escrow at 949-208-9600 or online at efficientescrow.com.
What do you do when your bank simply says no to your real estate purchase? Polaris Equity Group provides an answer: yes. Our flexible purchase and bridge loan programs are the direct result of our involvement in more than 3,000 transactions of varying size and complexity. Since 1991, Polaris has completed over $500 million in real estate investment transactions using both debt and equity solutions. When the bank says no, call Polaris Equity Group to hear yes. 949-727-4333. That's 949-727-4333. Logical decisions to execute a timely close. 949-727-4333. Or find us online at polarisequitygroup.com.
This is Nelson from the Dino and Nelson Show, and I want to talk to you about our expertise outside the studio. Combined, Dino and I bring 45 years of mortgage experience to First Centennial Mortgage. We've successfully advised our clients through the most challenging economic and mortgage times. The recession of the late 80s, the housing crisis of the early 90s, the equity lending exuberance of the early 2000s, and now the mortgage meltdown and loss of home values since 2008. Bottom line, professional and experienced loan advisors to help you protect your home and real estate investments. This week has brought new attention to high balance loans, jumbo fixed rates up to $2 million with 30-year rates below 4.25%, 15-year rates below 3.75%, and if you can believe it, 5-year fixed rates in the high 2s. Let's face it, fixed interest rates in the high 2s for loan amounts up to $2 million. Call Dino and Nelson, expert loan advisors, direct at 888-814-3335. Ask about their jumbo fixed rates in the high 2s up to $2 million. That's Dino and Nelson at 888-814-3335. 888-814-3335 or the DinoandNelsonShow.com.
All rates referred can change without notice. First Centennial Mortgage licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 132763.
The Dino and Nelson Show is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Best Chauffeured offers personal chauffeur services for corporate events, large and small, and all types of people, not just celebrities. So next time you just want to relax and enjoy the ride, please call on Best Chauffeured Worldwide. It's effortless transportation and first-class service every time. Call 866-323-BEST. That's 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Mention KTLK's Dino and Nelson Show and receive a special discount. 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com.
Welcome back to the Dino and Nelson Show here on K-Talk AM 1150. We can be reached at 888-814-3335. We're here with Bill Baskin from CDA Law Center, specializing in loan modifications. So, Bill, just before we broke, I had a question for you. I had one of my clients, and I'll just say GG for now. GG, this is for you because I couldn't answer the question. And I told you to call Bill. I don't know if you did, but here you go. This is your free advice. She's trying to do a refinance. She has... just enough. She qualifies under the HARP program, so she can qualify even though she's like at 103% LTV. However, she doesn't have the income because on her tax returns last year, she didn't quite make as much money as she's making currently. She just got a raise about, I think, 3 months ago. So I can't use that income because I have to average everything out. On a loan modification, can she now that she's making extra money, she just started getting it, can she use that to qualify?
Oh, absolutely. What we do is we go in with 60 days of the most recent bank statements, and
so not a year or two that we use in the mortgage industry.
Right. I mean, they do look at previous year's tax returns. So, I mean, if you lost $100,000 on your business last year and you're making $200,000 this year, or claiming that you do, you better be able to support that. But generally speaking, if somebody gets a raise, and we go through this process, which is a multi-month process. We're updating bank statements, so we should be able to show those deposits from the recent raise, which is proof of income for the bank with respect to a loan mod. So yeah, that scenario absolutely works.
You know, I want to go back to a question where we're talking about doing this on your own, going it alone. And I know so many people, whether they're on the professional side or they're seasoned veterans or not, I can speak from my own testimony. I tried to modify my own loan, and my mindset going in was, hold on, I speak the lender language. I know the process. I'm intimately familiar with the terms and the process and the history of our situation, and I was unsuccessful. So if I can't do it, Can Joe Homeowner go out there and do it?
Well, I mean, we have a 14-point disclosure that says they can, but the truth of the matter is this is a very complicated process. There are a lot of barriers to success. We're dealing with very complex program guidelines, and I will tell you, you know, we bring on attorneys as clients every month. We bring on realtors as clients every month, mortgage professionals. I mean, I got people working for banks that are hiring us to work with the bank they work for because it happens to own their loan to get it modified. So if you're an employee of the bank you work for and can't get your own loan modified, I mean, I think that kind of answers the question. But
no, I'm a true testament to that. I tried several times with all these different houses I used to have, and I'll tell you what, I'm the first person every time somebody asks me, you can try, but I'm telling you right now, you're going to hate the entire process and you're going to waste a lot of time. If I were you, I'd call up a professional. Just get it done the right way. Truly, get it done the right way.
Yeah, and not go through the pain-induced change.
Because sometimes, too, you say the wrong thing, you just screwed the whole thing up. Over at CDA Law Center, they know what is the right thing and the wrong thing.
Well, Dino, if you'd used us, you'd still have those houses.
So here's the reality question. With the homeowners that are going through this process, and it's obviously morphed. The process has changed over time, and so it's maybe less and less of the left hand not knowing what the right hand is doing at the institutional level. But homeowners have an expectation. You mentioned with the Bill of Rights, most homeowners have the expectation that they deserve this, that this is not an opportunity, but something that they're absolutely eligible for. And they're frustrated with the time and the intensity that it takes to go through. I mean, the complaints, it's got to be rough out there.
Oh, it's brutal because, listen, we bailed out these banks. We expected them to do the right thing. They haven't. Vis-a-vis the national mortgage settlement for unsafe and unsound servicing practices, robo-signing, abuses in the foreclosure process. You follow that up with the AG and the Homeowner Bill of Rights, giving consumers, homeowners, for the first time a private right of action to sue their lender for abuses in the loan modification process. So if every state attorney general and politician out there and the governor of California believes that banks are abusing people and illegally foreclosing and playing games in the loan mod process, yeah, I guess go try it yourself and see how that works out. But quite frankly, this private right of action is just testament that you need a lawyer to help you through the loan mod process to identify abuses in case litigation becomes necessary because of abuses by your particular servicer.
Just seems like the Irish setter that runs after the parked car. You're going to get hurt.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
I had something a little better.
Oh, did you? That's my best material. Go ahead.
I was going to say, just like my dad told me a long time ago, I can do a lot of stuff, but there's a lot of stuff people can do better. And you hire the people that can do it better. So just in case you just jumped into your car, this is the Dino and Nelson Show here on K-Talk AM 1150. We can be reached at 888-814-3335. That's 888-814-3335. Or you can text the word refi to 313131. And one more for you. If you want to get a loan modification or just get a little bit of information on it, text the word MOD, M-O-D, to 313131. This next segment is brought to you by Roadrunner Exterminating, reliable and more affordable extermination services.
Hey, Bill, before you leave our segment, I wanted to bring on Phil Immel, who's joined us from Prudential. Phil, you've got the two offices in Ritz Cove and up in Beverly Hills. Phil has been around a long time. I thought I was an aged veteran at 28 years, but he's been in the marketplace for 38 years. Number one agent for Prudential over the 11 of the last 12 years, ranks in the top 40 with Prudential out of 62,000 agents, and has been dubbed the voice of real estate. He's been on Fox News. He's been on CNN, KNX. The real estate guru. I mean, I want to kind of just pitch and pass some questions here in terms of what you see in the modification world and if it's good, if you think it's good for what's taking place in the marketplace.
Well, I think it's been helpful somewhat. It's been obviously a very big mess in the United States for the last 5-6 years as this recession's gone on.
There you hear it, everybody. The guru said it's been a very big mess here in the United States.
It's been a very big mess.
Kind of like this crowd I'm with. Anyway, the reality is the banks were completely understaffed, undertrained, and everything. So it's just been like moving icebergs to get this thing to where it is. But when there's professionals like Bill and others, I would use, even with my experience in real estate brokerage and other things I do related to the industry, if I was going to do a loan mod, I'd go to a company like that, because the sophistication level and the art of the communication and the constant contact you need with these banks, and there's so many variables about who the servicer or investors are, it's way too complex. It's better to, if you want to clean your house yourself, clean your house yourself. If you don't like to clean your house, you wouldn't want to do a loan mod. Go figure out where the professional is. So that would simplify it for the consumer. But in terms of the marketplace itself, it's prevalent all over Orange County and LA County. Nobody's immune. There's very big luxury homes that have situations happen with loan mods, short sales, things. So
nobody's been protected. Bill, the agent community, they're starving for inventory. There's a shortage of inventory, and so there's some opinion out there that the loan modifications are just keeping people in the properties longer, homeowners in properties longer, that they really can't afford. And so what's your opinion on that?
Well, I don't think I want to offer an opinion. I'll kind of rely on the U.S. Treasury Department quarterly HAMP report that 88% of people who get a loan modification continue to meet those obligations. So there's always a small segment who may have another life event that happens, or maybe something happens with their job or income that, or quite honestly, maybe get to the point where they realize a strategic default is a better, or a short sale is a better alternative for them. So there's always a segment that falls out, but the truth of the matter is loan mods work. They save people significant money. And, you have to qualify. So it's a subset of the population that may qualify for one. But
now, is that number up from, say, a couple years ago? Because
the problem is that, historically, when Treasury first rolled out HAMP, they rolled it out where you could give a verbal application to your lender and everybody was able to get a trial mod. So the early perception was it didn't work because none of these trial mods got converted to permanent mods because nobody could support the income they were telling the banks. Well, they changed guidelines. Now it's a full doc process. Everybody we get a trial mod for, unless some rare life event happens while they're in the trial period, winds up getting a permanent mod. And, the program works. It's very effective. It's saving, hundreds of thousands of homeowners their homes. And, it's a great alternative if you're not really a refi candidate.
Bill, I appreciate the expertise. And it's comforting to me that I can take my consumer that I've been with for so many years and turn them over to you where they can get reliable resources, clear answers. If they're in, they can understand how to proceed. If they're not eligible, they can be vetted out so they're not chasing rainbows. I'm a big fan. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I wanted to ask you this one other question, Phil, before we break for some commercials. And this was a quote that you had about the homeowner. You shouldn't use your home as a piggy bank or an ATM. What do you mean by that?
That was from a previous interview. What I mean by that is, the reason people should buy homes, and I believe the market's very stabilized in Southern California since the first part of this year, under $1 million. The luxury market suspect as a sidebar. But if you haven't owned a home in a number of years and you have the capacity to buy a home at today's historically low interest rates, over 60 years low, jump in the market, shop and buy something. But I think what I mean by that is you shouldn't buy a home and purely look at the investment and think you're going to sell it in 3 years, flip it, trade up, trade up, trade up. That's kind of like the analogy in the roaring 20s. Now we're in the 30s. Everybody's going through the hard times after the great run. So buy a home to live in it for your family and raise your kids there if that's what you're doing. And don't make it an ATM machine to pull your money out of it and refi it constantly and end up upside down and in the dilemma that many people have found themselves in.
It's a very salient point, and it was underscored last week when we were with General Lyon. And his first comment when he entered homeownership, his goal was to provide a home for his family.
Guys, we got a break for a commercial, so we'll be right back. But just want to quickly let you know about next week. You gotta come back and visit us. We're going to be interviewing feng shui author and expert Shelley Sparks. Does it really impact the value? And CEO and co-owner of First Centennial Mortgage. Call us at 888-814-3335. That's 888-814-3335 or at dinoandnelson.com. We'll be right back with more of Phil Immel from Team Prudential, Ritz Cove, and Beverly Hills.
We've reviewed your application for credit at this time, and we're unable to approve you. The dreaded credit denial. You had strong credit, but life got in the way and companies are turning you down. The Dino and Nelson Show has a solution with Saving My Credit. Saving My Credit offers highly skilled specialists and a research methodology that is consistently applied to improve your financial situation. Nagging collection accounts, late pays, tax liens, bankruptcies, charge-offs are some of the many examples of negative reporting that leads to credit denial. Saving My Credit applies rigorous energy, experience, and resourcefulness to raising your credit score. How about this instead? Your credit is approved. It sounds so much better. Contact Saving My Credit at 714-699-4680 or savingmycredit.com. That's 714-699-4680. 714-699-4680 or online at savingmycredit.com.
What do you do when your bank simply says no to your real estate purchase? Polaris Equity Group provides an answer: yes. Our flexible purchase and bridge loan programs are the direct result of our involvement in more than 3,000 transactions of varying size and complexity. Since 1991, Polaris has completed over $500 million in real estate investment transactions using both debt and equity solutions. When the bank says no, call Polaris Equity Group to hear yes. 949-727-4333. That's 949-727-4333. Logical decisions to execute a timely close. 949-727-4333. Or find us online at polarisequitygroup.com.
In a chaotic real estate market, you want peace of mind when it comes to the home you're purchasing. Roadrunner Exterminating, a family-owned and operated company providing structural repairs, local treatments, and fumigation. Roadrunner Exterminating is a licensed, bonded, and insured expert in termite, pest control, and general contracting. For fast and efficient service, plus the peace of mind of knowing the condition of your new home, call Roadrunner Exterminating at 866-398-BUGS. That's 866-398-BUGS. Or on the web at roadrunnerexterminating.com. As always, mention the Dino and Nelson Show and get a free home inspection. 866-398-BUGS or roadrunnerexterminating.com. General Contractor License 922404. Nominal fee for escrow inspections.
The Dino and Nelson Show is brought to you by Best Chauffeured. Best Chauffeured offers personal chauffeur services for corporate events, large and small, and all types of people, not just celebrities. So next time you just want to relax and enjoy the ride, please call on Best Chauffeured Worldwide. It's effortless transportation and first-class service every time. Call 866-323-BEST. That's 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com. Mention KTLK's Dino and Nelson Show and receive a special discount. 866-323-BEST or online at bestchauffeured.com.
Welcome back to the Dino and Nelson Show here on K-Talk, AM 1150. Can be reached at 888-814-3335. 888-814-3335 or at dinoandnelson.com. We're back with Phil Immel from Prudential Ritz Cove in Beverly Hills. And this next segment is brought to you by CDA Law Center, reliable loan modification services. Text the word MOD, M-O-D, to 313131 or call the Dino and Nelson Show.
I wanted to ask you, Phil, about the Beverly Hills market. I just picked up this from last week's stats that the average or median price, $3.5 million, 236 properties have been on the market. Average marketing time, 191 days up in that luxury market. Is that shortening up, or is the luxury market still hurting?
Well, all the markets are coming back. The luxury market's coming back slowly, but it is coming back and clearly better than it's been in 5 years.
What about Monarch Beach?
Pretty much the same, lagging behind the Beverly Hills greater LA market, because you've just got such an economic engine in LA, and you've got the whole entertainment industry, and Beverly Hills is the core of it. So you've got tremendous employment and income areas, and so that market's in celebrities that can just drop in and pick up a $10 million, $20 million house like that.
And write a check for it. You've worked with the celebrity community. What's that like?
It's actually a very interesting group of people. I mean, it's as diverse as looking down the road, all your friends. None of my friends are the same, and many of these celebrities are from the finest, greatest people I've ever met. And they're all really good people. They're just unique individuals, but they have an entourage, obviously, of, lawyers, CPAs, personal managers, most of them based locally, but some of them, I've been on the phone with people in Nashville that are managing a celebrity star, for example.
So when you're working with Britney Spears, is she the decision maker, or is she deferring to her management?
She defers to her management. Her family, immediate family, is pretty well involved. Now, I'm sure that will be changing this year as she gets married again.
Yeah.
But she's got an entourage. When you work with a group like that, you've got probably 20 different people we had to interact with, and her circumstances are beyond the normal. But if you have an executive for a major studio or something like that I've represented as a client, it's pretty much that client's, especially if they're on the business side, they're very involved in the transaction, or the spouse is as well. Very smart people, and smart enough to know they're not experts in real estate or mortgage or different things, but they do have, their business bankers and managers and that type of thing just to oversee everything. And they're a great group of people.
So let me change gears and go on a broader scale. Just on the housing market overall, is the housing market going to lead our economic recovery?
It would sure be great if it did. I remember what it used to be 16% of GDP, and obviously all the related business that happens with the home sale, new carpet, new paint, new kitchens, new everything, really stimulates the economy. I think we're kind of in a slow growth period still for a number of years. I think it's recovering. There could be another blip before it's over, but I think, I wouldn't expect the go-go boom years to happen in the next decade or two.
Even though we're seeing a run-up in values right now, pretty much across the board, it's just in those lower price points. We're not going to see the kind of exuberance that we saw perhaps in the middle 2000s.
Right. I would say, it's more the run-up in the number of home sales and the lack of inventory that's driving the market. But the valuations, they're kind of breaking even. They're 1 to 3 or 4%. They're not double-digit. 10, 20.
Month over month.
Yeah, it wasn't, I remember Laguna Beach one month had 46% appreciation over the prior year, over the prior month. It's like, there's always aberrations. You have to have enough statistics to do it. But we're not going to see, and hopefully we don't see it, because that's part of the pain we're in right now is, if you shoot really high, you're going to fall really far. And that's just the cycles of real estate.
And we're the consumer, I'm curious, Dino, if they're going to have the discipline when they're in this multiple offer. They're thinking that they need to rush in and buy homes right now. And I hear a lot of instructions coming to the agent community of offer full price, and you're scheduled or pre-approved to raise that in 10 or 15,000, whatever dollar increments up until I get the home.
Well, I think it's finally happening that way because people are just tired of losing out, because there are cash offers, there are offers above asking, and the people are just sick of losing.
In that multiple offer environment, you're not seeing it in the luxury high end, let's say above $1 million, but in the $1 million and below segment, there is multiple offers. How do you coach your customer to compete in that against the all cash, somebody that just wants to write a check?
Well, I think that the obvious thing is, and it's so obvious to all of us because we're in the industry, but it's really simplistic. You have to if you're going to get financing, get not just pre-qualified, but pre-approved. And if you're not sure the definition of that, call into these gentlemen on the show. They can tell you. But you really want to be the equivalent of an all-cash buyer, subject only an appraisal on the property you buy. Because the probability is you're going to run into, I would say, 28% of the sales that have happened in the last 2 years have been to investors. And most of them are all cash. And so and they have proof of funds. They can just get their private banker to write a letter, or they show their statement says, I've got cash to buy that $500,000 house. And where the first-time buyers getting knocked out of these deals is they don't even have the opportunity if they're doing an FHA deal or conventional financing. So get with your lender, get fully approved, everything ready to go. And I think if you're buying an REO, which we represent some of them, the banks actually would like to sell homes to consumers, not investors. But again, the consumer must get pre-approved, number one. Number two, and not just self-serving, is find a realtor who gets it, who's got a lot of experience in this. Don't use what we call the DNA family agent person.
DNA agent.
DNA, in other words, you're related to my sister-in-law. She quit teaching last summer, so she's over here selling real estate. You got to have somebody that's a shark, that's very understanding how the market works. Has a great reputation with the other brokers, because I know when we do a deal as the Immel team, it shows up. If there's 3 offers on the table or 5 offers on the table, and if I call the other broker and say we're going to submit an offer, I can almost assure you 90% of the time we're going to get the deal, because they know we do deals, we do them right.
Right.
And that's important.
That's astute advice, and there is a big problem. We sweep up behind the elephant all the time in terms of these other lender groups that are, quote unquote, pre-qualifying somebody.
Right.
And the pre-qualification is, all right, they look at a application, they look at a credit report. Yeah, you're good to go. And then when we actually dig into the transaction, now when we come in to try and put that transaction together, they may have never been qualified. So I really like the advice, get all the way approved, just subject to identifying which home that you want to buy and which one you're going to be successful in your negotiations after. And then you're good to go, subject to an appraisal.
Right.
You know, that's actually a good point, because I've been so many times now my clients are saying, Dino, I'm getting, bid out every single time. I don't know what to do. Do I offer more? How much more? And even some of the real estate agents are saying, will the house appraise if we go higher? And you said something earlier that kind of goes along with how I feel and what I've been doing lately. And basically when that's happening, I tell my clients, this is what you do. Along with the pre-approval letter that I'm offering, that I'm writing for you, I'm also sending a close on time guarantee that says the seller is going to get $100 a day if we don't close on time.
That's brilliant.
And if that's not going to work, then tell them you can close in 15 days. Is that aggressive? It is, because it's tough out there. However, we do at First Centennial Mortgage go through the process not as a pre-qualification, but more of a pre-approval. Mm-hmm. And we know what we're doing. We know if the loan's going to go through, and we get it 60-70% done. So if offer gets accepted and we need to do it, we can do it in 15 days. And then it's just like being an investor as a cash buyer.
Well, the other thing to do is, if you're a buyer, try to remember, stand in the other person's shoes. I mean, in any business situation, you always want to do that. But if you're the seller and you've got this property on the market and say it was $700,000 price, whatever the number is, and you start getting 3 to 5 offers on this thing the first week, your first thought is, you've underpriced the listing. What's wrong with my listing agent?
Right,
so
right,
there's
right.
that conversation, but it's probably just priced accurately. But the main thing is what does that seller want? Sometimes writing a personal cover letter, I think, is very important to the homeowner. Explain the family, humanize this thing, because it's all a lot of electronic transferring around. Humanize it with a good cover letter as the buyer.
Phil, I really want to thank you for coming on to the show. 35 years of experience, the real estate guru. You've got your marketplace up in Beverly Hills and the Ritz Cove down in Orange County with Prudential. Dino, I want to just close out with a couple of quick questions that we've had from our listeners this week. This segment is being brought to you by CDA Law Center, reliable modification services. And for those of you that were listening to the modification earlier, if you have any interest, if you want to find out exactly where you really stand, text the word MOD, M-O-D, 31 to 313131. That's text the word MOD to 313131. You'll get some accurate information. So, Dino, we were talking about the markets that Phil specializes in, Beverly Hills and the Ritz Cove, and I wanted to bring Bill Bergschneider in from USA National Title so we can ask this question on possible deed restrictions, things that buyers need to know. We were talking about the markets that Phil specializes in, Beverly Hills and the Ritz Cove, and I wanted to bring Bill Bergschneider in from USA National Title so we can ask this question on possible deed restrictions, things that buyers need to know. Okay, Bill, so before we get to Stump Dino, I got to ask this question, and this is in the marketplace where Phil Immel specializes in. What type of restrictions are on record that a buyer should be aware of in Beverly Hills and the Ritz Cove areas?
Oh, perfect question. You have old restrictions. You have anything that's developed new. You may have some height restrictions. So your typical CC&Rs, in which you have privacy areas, you have what a new buyer can or can't do. In other words, there may be a wall that they like or don't like. They may want to tear that wall down. They've got to do a couple of things. They've always got to contact the city for proper permits. Then they search out their restrictions, look at those deed restrictions, and see how high they can build. If there's any color restrictions, some of these have very, very exact neighborhoods that have requirements. All these things get violated here and there. What happens is, if you violate, the city or the county or the tax assessor comes after you, violate a restriction issue, and your neighbor's attorney comes after you.
Sound advice. That's Bill Bergschneider from USA National Title. Thanks, Bill, for joining us. I needed to clear that up.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Bill. Take care.
Stumping you. We've gone through 2 shows now, and we've been just exceptionally nice to each other. I don't like it. I don't know how you're feeling.
It's not normal.
Yeah, I know. This is not how we treat each other. But out of Long Beach.
And I had some really great opportunities, by the way, when we're just, what did you say? We're shoveling behind the elephant?
Sweeping up behind the
elephant. Gosh.
That's good stuff. Out of Long Beach, a purchase was ready to close. The termite was not completed by the seller, and it caused a delay in the close of escrow. Seller turns around and says that he's not going to pay for any of the extension fees for the financing for the buyer.
Yep. First-hand experience. That was actually my transaction. The seller he thought he underpriced his home, so decided he didn't want to do anything. Didn't tent the place. Didn't do what he was supposed to do. My buyer We were set to fund, find out nothing was done. So what happened? We had to extend the loan for a week. It cost a little over $500, and then the battle began. And what do you do? He's like, what do I do?
Exactly.
And
all right, we have about
the answer is you close escrow, and if you really want to sue him for $500, you sue him. There's nothing you can do.
All right, last question out of Woodland Hills before we end our show today. We co-signed for a new car for our daughter during our refinance. Now my lender's telling me that I don't qualify. Why would I talk to my lender on buying my daughter a car?
Because your lender knows everything during that 30-day escrow. You consult with him no matter what. Anything that has to do with finances, you consult with them. Anytime you open up credit, it could change your credit score, which would change everything. It could change your debt ratio, which will possibly, make you a decline. It's just something you don't do when you're buying a house.
Sound advice. Listeners, we're going to get back to Dino and I just taking shots at each other again, so don't worry. Next week, we got the CEO of First Centennial Mortgage and feng shui author Shelly Sparks. We'll be back next week. This is Dino and Nelson here on K-Talk AM 1150, and you can reach us at 888-814-3335 or at dinoandnelson.com. We'll see you next week.